Nearly 20 years ago now, Live 8 took place in Hyde Park, and I vividly remember watching some of it on the huge screen that was a centrepiece in Hull City Centre for a while. It was a massive event after all that had come before it at Live Aid about 20 years earlier, but the main event for me and others that I knew was of course Pete Doherty playing with Elton John. I can't remember how much was given away beforehand, but it was definitely known that Doherty would be making some sort of appearance that day, and it kind of felt like our chance to show him off a bit. As from what I remember, people didn't know too much about his music at the time. I suppose I'm thinking about my dad when I say this, as he was always quick to dismiss Doherty because of the tabloid antics, so I kind of wanted my dad to be put in his place. However, it didn't really pan out that way. I still enjoy it now as much as I did back then, to be honest. It's got that shambolicness to it, but it's also got that electric and unpredictable energy that was typical of Doherty's performances at the time. Could he have nailed the vocals more? Probably. But it was a pretty unapologetic performance, and that's what made it enjoyable. I remember my dad slating it and saying Robbie Williams blew him off stage, but I'm not sure that was a relevant comparison to make. However, there definitely seemed to be a bit of a disconnect somewhere on stage. This can maybe be explained in Doherty's recent book when he says, "Unfortunately, the gig that most people remember from that time is the one with Elton John at Live 8. It was Kate's idea. She introduced me to Elton. We went on this excursion to Watford Football Stadium where he was preparing for a gig, and they were like two old friends meeting. He asked if I wanted to do a song for this charity gig, and we ran through it at the stadium, and it was all good. We chose the song Children of the Revolution by Mark Bolan together. It was disastrous on the day. I felt that Elton John's band had it in for me. They changed the key of the song. It was so embarrassing. They were sort of smirking. I think I pulled it back from the brink by kissing him on my way off. That's what took away from the poor vocal performance. I was shockingly displeased with my performance that day. The reviews afterwards ranged from unprofessional through to shambolic to rubbish. Maybe it looked like a sabotage job on my part, where I just turned up to look cool. I thought I looked the nuts that day, and did an absolutely god-awful performance in a true punk style. But I was actually pretty ashamed. I'd like to have nailed it. I had to scuttle back to Kate's country mansion shamefaced, and there was a strange atmosphere. So pretty self-critical Doherty there. And to be honest, when I went to the comments section on the official Live 8 video of the performance, I was expecting him to get roasted, as that seemed to be the mainstream reaction. However, I was pleasantly surprised. As you can see, there's plenty of support for Doherty, and I particularly enjoyed the comment that said, "This is a disgrace, but I love it." Doherty briefly talked about it on his appearance on the Jonathan Ross show a year later. Here's what he had to say about it at the time.
Because when you perform with Elton at Live 8, and I don't know if you saw it, but on Live 8, Pete performed with Elton John, they did the T-Rex song, Children of the Revolution, and I really much enjoyed it. A lot of people, there's sort of mixed feelings about it. Some people said it was a bit shambolic, and I found that quite charming. I enjoyed that. But didn't Elton offer to sort you out, try to help you out as well? You do well to look at that twice, young man. That's a great shot, isn't it? Was it fun doing that? Because that was a huge crowd at Live 8, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was just some fella down the front the whole way through shouting, "Give us your hat, give us your hat." It put me right off, to be honest. The rehearsal's good.
Well, the performance wasn't bad. It was kind of like, it was fun, because it didn't seem too kind of polished, you know, and I quite enjoyed that.
You can see that Doherty still isn't really happy with it there, but I agree with Jonathan Ross's sentiment that there was something authentic about it all. I always thought that would have been a great stage for the Libertines to have a mini reunion and blast out a few songs, but it was never going to happen. But what do you think? Do you agree with Doherty and plenty of others that it was a disaster? Should they have maybe tried another song? Or do you also have fond memories of it? Have your say in the comments.